Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
This is not a fair and equal Canada. This is not why I had 8 children. But the tide is turning, and we are more than even what is here. And so I'm here because it's the right thing to do.
Sheila Gunn Reid here for Rebel News. I'm here in Calgary, Alberta. It's Saturday, and I'm at the Calgary City Hall Plaza, and I'm here covering the weekly Walk for Freedom. Now, these folks are here to protest the coronavirus restrictions here in Calgary. Many municipalities have had their own mandatory mask mandates. Edmonton and Calgary have had theirs in place for months, but they're being reinforced by new provincial rules. And while Alberta seems to have the least restrictive coronavirus regulations in the entire country, with Premier Jason Kenney saying he's adopting a bit of a more South Dakotan approach, coronavirus case counts are increasing. And over a week ago, targeted coronavirus restrictions were put in place by the provincial government. The rules say no mixing outside of your household indoors and no more than 10 people gathering outdoors, which technically makes today's gathering illegal. However, the Conservative government has taken a hands-off approach to political protests, but the Premier has asked people to stay home and stay away from the rally today. City of Calgary has taken a different approach. Now, last week, reportedly 1,000 people showed up here, and last week, Calgary police issued 6 fines to organizers of the protests, one of which is represented by John Carpe from the Justice Centre for Constitutional Freedoms. Carpe is also a speaker here today. I'm curious to see how the police are going to handle this crowd. I see they're already on site, and it's just afternoon and the walk starts at 1. But enough from me. Let's get into this crowd here and find out why these folks are willing to risk a $1,200 fine just to stage a political protest. Oh, and I also have my little bag of I'm exempt buttons available at maskexemption.ca. And I'm handing them out. I'm not going to ask why you tell me you're exempt because it's none of my business. And it's sure as heck not the government's either. Let's go. Would you like some I'm exempt buttons?
Sure.
Help yourself. Would you like an I'm exempt button?
I would love one of those.
Take a couple. Why did you think it was worth risking a $1,200 fine to come down here today?
Well, I just don't really like the direction that things are heading in Canada. I believe the new bylaws in Calgary are unconstitutional. I actually have a copy of the Charter of Rights and Freedom, and it says very crystal clear we have the right to assemble peacefully, which is what this is.
We're here to stand together, united as one voice, we the people. That's why we're here, 100%.
It's absolutely okay for everyone to make their own health decisions, and I think that needs to be respected. There's too many opposing scientific reviews that say that the decisions that have been made up to now have been hurting people more than they've been helping people. So I'm really here for that. And I'm taking advantage of this time too to expose some of the other falsehoods that have been used by the government to establish the amount of power they have up to now.
It's important for our freedom, for our rights. The masks don't work.
Freedom! Freedom! Small business owners, free Canadians. We don't want this. This is ridiculous. I listen to you all the time, actually. Get little tidbits of where to go do research to get serious data, actual data, not what's being told by the mainstream media, which is a disgrace. Defund it all. But we're here to fight for our rights and fight for the rights of other people that are too scared to come.
Freedom is more important than $1,200.
Our rights are worth more than a fine. So we believe that we should stand up for our rights and ask questions and be able to make our own choices for ourselves.
They can find me if they want. I'm just exercising my freedoms.
This is way more important than any fine. What's going on in the world at the moment now is absolute crazy, just a huge mess. And I think people don't realize that they have the power to stand up and have their freedoms taken away like this for something that's a complete farce. I think we need to really stand up and show that we have the power with the people, and then more people will stand up with us.
Now, I detect a bit of an accent in your voice. Yes. When you came to Canada, did you think that there would be fines and arrests for political protests?
No, as I came from South Africa where there's a lot of oppression, so I understand oppression, and I came here hoping for a better start for my family, and coming here and seeing what they're doing in terms of such a medical tyranny, it's unbelievable. And it's happening throughout the world, just different forms of whether it's racism or tyranny from medical side. I can't believe it. So coming here, I'm going to fight for what Western civilization should have.
We're here to support freedom.
That's right. Those fines don't mean anything, right? They don't mean anything right now. People need to stand up, wake up, really see what's coming, right? If a $1,000 fine puts you in line, we're doomed. Doomed.
Thing of it is, the government and health authorities have no right to impose medical tyranny on us. That's all there is to it. There is no need for this. Obviously, we're concerned for anyone really sick, and that can be dealt with under normal measures. You don't have to shut a society down. You don't have to punish us and fine us and possibly imprison us.
Hey! Love you! Hey!
Ultimately, what we're fighting for is worth more than any fine. I mean, if you had to put a price on freedom, how much would you pay? I don't even know what the fines are, even if they're 10 grand. It's like, if we lose our whole world, I'm sure I wouldn't be missing 10 grand.
Now, we've noticed that everybody, despite the fact that 6 fines were handed out last week, everybody's still pretty respectful of the police. They're walking past them, thanking them. That doesn't seem to happen at a left-wing protest, does it?
No, definitely not. They're anti-police, but we're pro-police because we're positive people. We're here for the positivity of life and for the growth of everybody.
I have never received a fine, but I do know people who have, and I am so against it because we are just fighting for our freedom, advocating for our freedom, really. So, yes.
You're not scared of getting one?
No, I'm not. I am not afraid at all. Nope. We have the right to be here, and I'm just advocating to have the businesses open, and a lot of the big stores are still open, and these little businesses are not, so we need to get them back open.
Now, the mainstream media, you say, is the virus. Why?
Well, I just believe that they're not telling us the truth. They have they're putting the cases. They're just creating fear for people, and there's a lot of people that just rely on the news. They don't have internet or anything, and they can't see that what the real news is. So we've got a lot of doctors. There's the World Doctors Alliance, and they're coming out with a lot of the truth. So the media that's on regular TV are just giving false advertising, I'm going to say.
Your sign says turn off the news.
Yep.
You don't mean me.
Definitely not Rebel News.
How do you think the media has made the pandemic and the fear around it worse?
Oh, it's a joke. It's definitely all propaganda. They're just trying to push the fear agenda to frighten everyone into obeying, basically. Like, it's a joke. That's all I could say.
Do you think the rally has gotten fair treatment?
I don't believe so, no. It's totally being misrepresented in the mainstream media. So I'm just glad that Rebel News is here to provide some real coverage of what it is. Yeah, so there's no violence, there's no discrimination, everybody's welcome. Great relations with the police, there's no issues with them. So it's basically a total 180 of whatever's being represented by the mainstream media.
You are willing to risk a $1,200 fine to be here today. Why?
Absolutely, because it's for our freedom, and $1,200 fine is nothing because our rights have been taken away since March, and they said it was going to be 2 weeks. It's not 2 weeks, it's now months and months and months, and I'm not standing for it anymore. So $1,200 is nothing, absolutely nothing, as long as they don't send me to concentration camp, right?
It's important to exercise our rights, and all these lockdowns, all the fines, if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. So you got to push back at some point.
Now, your vest says that you're a veteran. You've already done your job fighting for freedom, but you're still out here.
Well, gosh, that's a loaded question, I guess. I like to be normally I'm in a closet about this sort of thing, but it's just that the way that they're posing these laws, they're turning people on each other. And I'm here with my wife, and we really see the ugliness of people when they're pushed by these laws, by these lockdowns. And my wife has been bullied, she's been harassed, she's been assaulted. And if I'm not with her, people who are scared, they lash out and they see her. We're medically exempt. We have a child with a disability. so we don't wear a mask in public. But people come up to us and they harass us. And, I'm just here primarily to protect my wife.
Why are we focusing on the fines? Why are we focusing on our freedoms? We need to stand up. The lion sleeps no more. It is time for the people to rise up against tyranny. It is time for us to take our rights back. This has a 99.5% survival rate. I think we'll be okay. I love you, humanity. We are on one team. Let's win this.
Well, we're still walking and we're walking and we're walking. I think there's I would guess 2,500, 3,000 people here. And it's a weird cross-section of Calgary humanity. And I don't mean that in a bad way, I mean that in an inspirational sort of way. Because it's right-wingers, obviously. But then there's your flower child hippie people here. And the organic free-range set, they're also here. So it's weird how medical tyranny, as people have described it to me several times today, has managed to unite these people who normally exist on the far side of the political spectrum from each other. And that's my shining light of the pandemic, is that there are a lot of people who normally sit opposite of conservatives and liberty-minded people, figuring out that maybe our side's been right all along.
I'm here to advocate for my children's rights and for their autonomy, their right to choose.
Fine us. We're a peaceful protest, peaceful rally. We are free to assemble.
They fined 6 people last week.
Yeah, they went to their house after, which is wrong. That's harassment, I'd say. And then they posted their names. That is freedom of the Privacy Act. They should be fined for that, don't you think?
We have to stand up. It doesn't matter whether there's fines or no fines. If we don't stand up, they're going to take over and shut everybody down. Nobody's going to have a voice to speak anymore. So you can hide, or you can get out and face potential fines. I've had fines myself, and you got to keep coming out.
I came because I am the mother of 8 children, and our freedoms are at stake. And I have no problem standing up when there's bullying, when we're having communist-like behavior going on in our country. I'm a native Calgarian. I was born here. I grew up here. I used to know the mayor of the city when I grew up. We were a city of hospitality and care and concern. And what Nenshi is doing and what these other liberal partisans are doing on our watch is obscene. I have children that love to hunt and love to take care of themselves. We are small business entrepreneurs. We have almost been wiped out during this pandemic. My husband is in an alternative healthcare practice, and he is being threatened by his profession this week that they will pull his license because he is mask exempt. This is not a fair and equal Canada. This is not why I had 8 children. But the tide is turning, and we are more than even what is here. And so I'm here because it's the right thing to do.
No matter what, the government says you have a right and you have your freedoms, and you have to stand up. And so if you just let what the government says to do, then you're not going to get anywhere. Fake news, no nonsense.
They're just using scare tactics, and we're not going to allow them to pull the wool over our eyes anymore, and we're going to continue fighting for our freedoms. And they can keep pushing tickets. Our support is growing, and we're going to continue to grow daily, every week, every month, until this tyrant government is put to rest.
It's well worth it, and willing to front the cost. And I know you guys are active with the Fight the Fines thing, and it's strength in numbers, right? And the more people come out, hopefully there's more people next week and the week after that. So
I bet these cops have better things to do.
they do. Most of them
Definitely.
they were checking their phones. They looked really bored, frankly. So
What I saw at the march today was pretty well behaved. Everybody was thanking the police as they walked by, even though the police are probably here to gather intel and show up at some people's doors tomorrow to find them. I would suggest there's probably about 2,500 to 3,000 people who attended the march today. The organizers have said it was at least double over last week's protest, which is really saying something considering last week fines were issued. And yet, these people behind me seem pretty undeterred. It's also been an interesting cross-section of Calgary humanity here today. It's right-wingers, blue-collar types, bikers, and the alternative granola types. They're all united in freedom, so I guess the medical tyranny of the lockdown has performed some sort of social miracle. Now, I've been down here for about 3 to 4 hours, and things are just wrapping up. If anybody from the Walk for Freedom receives a ticket because of their actions here today, please go to fightthefines.com. We'll get you a top-notch lawyer to fight the fine in court. And if you'd like to support our efforts to fight these fines and keep Calgary and Canada just a little more free during the pandemic, you can donate at that special website, fightthefines.com. In Calgary, for Rebel News, I'm Sheila Gunn Reid. At Rebel News, if you've received a COVID violation ticket, please reach out to us at fightthefines.com. At that special website, you'll see all of the cases that we've taken so far and some of the victories that we're already starting to rack up. And if you'd like to support our efforts to keep Canada just a little more free in our battle for civil liberties during the pandemic, you can do that too there at that special website, fightthefines.com.